Hello, everyone. I'm going to get started while you guys are eating. Just get everyone's attention and I'll kick us off. Just as a reminder, please do fill out those little blue forms. We have an incredible Comstock load commemorative silver medallion, 4/9 purity, and commemorating the sesquicentennial of the state of Nevada, which is the silver state. And it was in 2014, after Abraham Lincoln admitted the state into the Union, apparently well before it was constitutionally legal, because there weren't as many people in the territory as the Constitution required for admitting him into a state, but they needed Nevada initially to support his efforts during the Civil War, but ultimately through Reconstruction after. And I say this not flip, because the Comstock Lode is one of the most profound national historic landmarks with just such a tremendous amount of history. And in the state of Nevada, it is at the top of the cultural DNA, if you will, of the state, of who we are. Initially, when we started mining in the Comstock, that notion created a tremendous amount of scrutiny on what we were doing. We were literally under a microscope with every step of our process. And we decided very, very early on that we were going to elevate our stewardship of the land and our stewardship of the environment to a level not seen before. Okay? And if we weren't interested in doing that, if we weren't genuinely going to be part of the community, and I can show you my Nevada driver's license with my Virginia City address where I live, if we weren't going to be genuinely part of the community, we had no business being in this critically important area to the state of Nevada. So Nevada is called the Silver State because of the Comstock Lode. Carson City is the capital of Nevada because of the Comstock Lode. Virginia City was one of the richest places on earth, rivaling Boston and London, solely because of the Comstock Lode. And the flag says Battleborn because the silver from the Comstock supported the Federal Union, Abraham Lincoln, and the North during the Civil War. So there's a pride that comes with that. I'll tell you a little last story before I jump into the presentation. The General Counsel of Albemarle was in Carson City in the Department of Minerals office, the director of the Department of Minerals, Rich Perry, and she was lobbying for some water rights for their lithium mine. She wasn't getting any response, any respect for being the largest lithium producer in North America and the only operating lithium mine in Nevada. As she was getting rebutted by Rick, she looked up on the wall and she saw 3 maps of the Comstock Lode. I used to work with her, so she sent me an email or a text, I guess, saying, there's maps of the Comstock Lode on the wall. Maybe we should change the name of our company to Comstock. She said it sarcastically, she said it disparagingly. My response was, it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt. So we will make some forward-looking statements. I'll make some strong ones, so please care to what you do with that information. But what happened, my history, is that I showed up on the Comstock in 2009, and it was maybe 20% of the land position that we currently have. It was a toxic balance sheet. There was conflict, amongst the management team. There was conflict in the territory, and we came in to professionalize everything. And the chief geologist and the chief engineer were really the 2 crown jewels of that team, and they're still with us today, 15 years later. That was 15 years ago. But we consolidated an entire district. We entitled the entire district. We built infrastructure, water, road systems. We mined for 4 years and got incredible recognition from the communities that we were genuinely here to do good, genuinely here to be proper, and expanded all of our permits. Just giving you a little background to who we are today. I went to the board in 2017 when we stopped mining, when gold bottomed at 1,000, but more importantly, we had finished the first phase of a very, very small mine plan. We had proven to the community, we had proven to ourselves that this was mineable. But it took every fiber of our being to do that. And I went back to the board and I said, we're not ready to restart mining. We're going to pause our mining. Gold's at $1,050 an ounce. But I think we can do more with this platform. And I convinced the board to let us invest in renewable metals and renewable fuels. So we are currently, someone was speaking yesterday that, micro caps are sort of orphaned, not followed by Wall Street, inefficiencies in the market, dislocated on valuation. And that's true. So if you're a nano cap, I think you're even more dislocated from the market, dislocated from valuation. If I'm effective in communicating what we have here, you're going to be stunned at our valuation. You're going to be stunned at our valuation, and I hope I do an effective job at that. But the board agreed. And the last 4 years, we've re-prepared the mine for production. We've invested in solar panel recycling, and we've invested in waste wood. So we're taking waste metal to new metal, waste wood to new fuel, and we're ready to put our mine back into the path for production. We acquired 3 companies to do this. One was a recycling company that had a unique technology for eliminating contaminants and producing clean metals. And Dr. Fortunato Villamagna has been doing this for 35 years. He's a chemist, he's a PhD chemist, but he's an operator at his soul. Raul Babili was our chief engineer. We acquired his engineering company. Raul built 22 biorefineries in the last 17 years. And then David Winsness and Kevin's company was taking waste wood to fuel after having fully commercialized taking waste biomass to extracted corn oil in the ethanol industry, adopted by 95% of the business. So we're not just a junior mining company. We have deep, deep bench strength. Subject matter expertise is dramatic. And then our board is remarkable. Leo Dosdorf was the secretary to the governor of the state of Nevada for all of Nevada's environmental protection, all of Nevada's state engineering and water rights, and all of Nevada's historical preservation. I couldn't think of a better regulator who retired to come onto our board. So we're New York Stock Exchange listed. We trade with high liquidity for our size company. Yesterday we traded 3.5 million shares. We trade on average 2 to 3 million shares a day. Our market cap sucks. $75 million. But a little while ago, we announced that we crossed the finish line on metals and we were shipping clean materials to customers. A little while ago, we announced our first 3 projects for fuels in Australia. This week, we announced the 4th project in Vietnam. We have half a dozen to a dozen in the hopper in the United States alone. So people are now saying, they're crossing the finish line. So energy, energy, energy. In Northern Nevada, we've seen Google, Microsoft, Switch, Apple, Compass, Tract, Prologix, companies I'd never even heard of before, building hyperscale data centers. Guess what they do? They suck the lifeblood out of the energy grid like I've never seen before. We need energy, energy, and energy because the demand curve is exploding and we just don't have enough of it. So we have Comstock Fuels, Comstock Metals, Comstock Mining, 3 standalone companies. I'm going to take this deep dive into the mining asset, to make emphasis, but I'm going to touch on the other ones as well. That's the way we're set up. We have 3 lines of businesses, but then we have a platform supporting it. What does the platform do? Well, our corporate team makes sure that the presidents and managers of our business don't have to think about hiring people. They don't have to think about debits and credits for GAAP accounting. They don't have to think about filing documents with the SEC or raising capital. They get up in the morning and they go to sleep at night commercializing these technologies. And we see that as a clear advantage in the market because they just move faster than our competition. I'll give you an example of that. We started the recycling business looking at lithium-ion batteries. We had 5 competitors. We were the first one to build a prototype. We actually decided we didn't love that business. We pivoted to solar panels, so we completely changed our business model, and we were the first one to be up and running selling to customers, even though those other 5 were still doing the lithium-ion batteries. And from an innovation statement, we have a very small internal group led by our Chief Technology Officer. But we have strategic and exclusive rights to all the IP, to the leading Sweden IP portfolio for lignocellulosic fuels. We're working directly with the University of Wyoming. We're working in a landmark agreement with the National Renewable Energy Lab, the Department of Energy, and MIT to advance our fuels. We literally have the top scientists in the world, all over the world, in our exclusive network for developing these solutions further. That's what we call Comstock Innovations. Wood basically is proven technology to take cellulose, less than half of the wood, into ethanol. We can do it better than anyone. It produces about 45 gallons per ton of waste wood. Where's the waste coming from, you ask? Lumber mills, pulp and paper mills, forestry residuals. There's abundances and abundances of wood. But we cracked the code on the other half. The other half of the wood, which is primarily lignin, which is where most of the carbon content is, unblocks the yields. So extremely high yields. How high? Well, we went from 45 gallons to 85 gallons. Then we went to 100 gallons. Now we're at 125 gallons. Everyone's freaking out. Who's everyone? Every major oil and gas producer. If you name them, we've talked to them. If they're the leaders, we're engaged with them right now to adopt our solutions, and it's already started. Solar panels. Someone said it in a presentation 2 days ago. They're lasting 25 to 30 years. They're supposed to last 25 to 30 years. They're lasting 12 to 15 to 16 years. Last year, 100,000 tons of waste panels came out of the market. 100,000 tons. In 2030, we're talking 1 million tons. Guess where most of them are? California, Arizona, Southern Nevada. Is it shocking? Those were the early adopters. That's where the substantial majority of the end-of-life materials are coming out. We're sitting right on the border because California said illegal to put them in landfills. So they're all coming east to Nevada. It's funny to say that, east to Nevada, right? It's crazy, yeah. So we'll take them. We'll take all the aluminum, we'll take all the glass, we'll take all the silver. And the grades of silver that are coming out and concentrating make my head spin. You know, our president said, hey, Corrado, we're rivaling the grades of the original Comstock. I said, don't get ahead of yourself. Not that good, but pretty good. And this is the original Comstock. We consolidated 12 square miles of mineral claims. The blue is private, the green is federal. We control all of it. And we love what's happening with silver. Someone was talking about it earlier. You can't see these numbers, so let me tell you what they say. For a long, long, long time, we were producing more silver than we were using. It changed 3 years ago. We're now needing 200 million ounces more than we're producing. Production is going down, demand is going up. Why? Electrification. Why? Primarily solar panels. Samsung announced last month a new solid-state battery. Toyota said, we want you to mass produce it for us. If that battery went mainstream, The 200 million surplus, which is going up every year because of solar panels, shortfall, which is going up every year because of solar panels, would increase by almost 500 million ounces a year. So electrification is taking silver, and it's taking it in a big way. I'm not going to preach about the bullishness of silver, okay? I think everyone at this conference is either a gold or silver bug. I'm with you guys. So how do we do it sustainably? When I brought renewable fuels to the company, and when I brought renewable metals to the company, Mike Norrid, who's sitting in the back, said, what about the miners? What about us? And I said, Mike, you're great at mining. We have a great resource, but we got to do a little better than that, okay? We got to be sustainable. So we looked at the history of the Comstock. We looked at all of the gold and silver that came out. And for those of you who don't know, 33 bonanzas. The largest bonanza, the big bonanza alone, produced 72 million ounces of silver when you were seeing 100 ounces a ton, 500 ounces a ton, 1,000 ounces a ton. This was not, that's why when Fortunato got all excited about 15, 20, 30 ounces a ton, which, very exciting, okay? Don't get ahead of yourself, but we're good. Mike Norrid literally has digitized all of the three-dimensional structures from all of the historic mines. We know where all of the former workings are. We know where all of the grades that were taken. We know all the grades that were left behind. And then we continued the trends. We continued them from the north, from here, where all that was, down to here. And we quantified 300,000 ounces of gold, 5-6 million ounces of silver. Went a little further to the Dayton, another 300,000 ounces of gold, another couple million ounces of silver. But the thing is a 6-mile contiguous mineral trend. We've only quantified those ounces on about 10% of our mineral properties. In the middle, we mined it. More importantly, we built a massive infrastructure. We have haul roads, we have crushing, we have leaching, we have refining. Unlike other junior explorers, we've poured gold. We're miners, we've done it. And we've done it at the highest level of environmental stewardship. When I went to the county the first time and asked for our first permit, I showed them a picture of the Rosebud mine that had won in 2009 the #1 Environmental Excellence Award in the state of Nevada. I showed them that because it was a standard, but I showed them that because their leaching and production operation looked very similar to ours. And I said, this is the standard we're going to hold ourselves to. Now, at the time I said that, in 2011, I didn't think we would be winning awards, the #1 reclamation award, 2 years into our mining and 4 years into our mining, because normally people reclaim things after they're done. We reclaimed as we went, and we were recognized for excellence by the state of Nevada, the BLM, the Department of Minerals, and 2 other regulatory agencies. #1. When you're getting an award in Nevada alongside Kinross, or you're getting an award alongside Newmont, but you're a smaller miner, it's pretty rewarding, okay? But we have rewards for safety, #1 in safety, #1 in environmental reclamation, across the board. And that's the platform. That road collapsed because of an historic underground mine shaft. The artery, the main artery into Virginia City was shut down. We ripped out 300,000 tons of old mine dumps that had some mercury, old-time miner mercury amalgamation in it. It cost us $6 million to rip out the road. And you say to me, Corrado, how do you rip out a road? I take my entire mining fleet and I say, go mine that. They literally ripped out the whole road and 300,000 tons of waste underneath the road. We had permits to do it. We put that material on our leach pad. Why? Because we wanted to leach it? No, because we wanted to protect and safely put that material somewhere where it wouldn't harm anyone that we were permitted for. Then we spent $3 million sealing that shaft and building that road. I was surprised when we got $9 million of gold and silver out of that 300,000 tons of waste material. We won awards for that, the top awards in the state. We also set up a foundation over a decade ago that is now independent, raising money independently with over 100 volunteers, restoring head frames, restoring mills. We literally got the blacksmith shop at the Donovan Mill up and running. We have a forge, we have operating anvil processes, and we teach classes for old school blacksmithing right now on the Comstock. We also got the stamps running again, which is mind-boggling. This was one of the largest mills on the Comstock, and it was also the mill where cyanide leaching was perfected in the early 1900s and became the industry standard across the world. I'm sharing this with you because when you talk about sustainability, it takes more than just reducing your carbon footprint. It takes caring about the community and integrating into the community. That's what we're doing. So this is what the view looks like from my office. This is what we're freaking out over. The Dayton Consolidated Mine sits on 80 acres where our resource is, 300,000 ounces of gold. That's all measured and indicated. Another 100,000 of inferred, 2.5 million ounces of silver, but it's immediately at surface. When we came in, we got some data from Houston Oil and Mineral. They had a 75,000 ounce reserve that they calculated immediately at surface. The first hole that we drilled was 900 feet deep. 573 of the 900 was mineralized at economic grade. We were freaking out. We were like, there's something much bigger here. So and look at the landscape standing at the top of the Dayton project, looking all the way down to Highway 50. That's Highway 50 in Nevada. That's about 4 miles that you're looking down. And I want you to think about this. This is a destination. This is 15 minutes from Carson City. This is about 40 minutes, maybe 50 minutes to Tesla's Gigafactory. This is 35, 40 minutes to Reno. This land is going to be worth a lot of money when we're done mining it. That's what I want you to keep in your mind for a minute. There's our resource, Barry Dolbear. We're working on feasibility. We're advancing the project, but there's something interesting about this project because we have drilled the heck out of those, that small area, and that mine at $1,800 gold, $1,800 equivalent cutoff, was producing $150, $200 million. We upped the price to $2,300. We're $250 to $300 million. You change the cutoff, and 3 million tons moves from waste to ore. We're pushing $400 million. Not talking about $2,700 gold. Not talking about $2,600 gold. Not talking about $2,500 gold, right? This is getting exciting for us. What's more exciting is the geophysics go another 2 miles. And everywhere where we've drilled along that trend, we've hit grade. So we could stop right now, green light it, and get that into production. And it would be $300, $400 million of cash flow over a 5.5-year mine life. Great. But the reason there's gaps down here, the reason there's gaps here, the reason there's gaps here is we haven't drilled it. So we need to drill the southern part and come up with what does that look like. And then we want to step across. We want to step over and finish the drillings here because we hit very, very high grade in those areas. Sorry. So as I said, we have a plan, we have a mine plan That's based on just what we know today. But we also know the trend goes 2 more miles. We also know the geophysics and the structure continues. And we also know where we've drilled on that structure, we've hit economic grade and better. So that's what that looks like, right? Here's where all that ore is right here, and then it just keeps going down that valley like a river. And the landscape is beautiful. So here's the thesis on sustainability. We're going to build the mine. We're going to mine the mine. But we're going to mine the mine with waste material and reclamation engineered in advance. We're going to end up not with a massive hole in the ground, but with a re-landscaped district. Now, guys and gals, if you start with a flat piece of land and you pull out 20 million tons, you're going to have a hole in the ground and you can't do anything about it. But if you start with rolling hills, okay, you could be nice, flat, and leveled if you plan it in advance. So the idea here is to generate hundreds of millions of dollars of cash flow from a gold and silver mine, and then post-mining productive use of developing that land, preliminary estimates, hundreds of millions more. So we could end up with a big hole, we could end up with $30 to $50 million long-term reclamation liability, or we could end up with an incredible asset that we could sell or develop as we go forward. So we've de-risked the heck out of this, okay? So, oh yeah, we own the oldest continuously operating and, if I would say, the coolest establishment in Virginia City called the Gold Hill Hotel. It's got a saloon, it's got a dining room, but it's got the 15 oldest hotel rooms in the state of Nevada. And it's fully operating. So let me just quickly come back. That's our sustainable mining. Just a little bit more on fuels, a little bit more on metals, and then we'll take some questions. I already mentioned how we do this, but I want to repeat. We have the highest and unprecedented yields from a waste ton of wood. The highest, most unprecedented yields. The economic model is robust. We also have the lowest carbon intensity scores. Ethanol takes you from 100 to 70. Vegetable oils take you from 70 to 55. We're at 15. To produce sustainable aviation fuel, you need to be 50, 60% down. There isn't enough feedstock in the industry to produce the fuels that everybody's saying they're going to produce. The bottleneck in the industry is feedstock. Our technology unblocks the most abundant source of carbon, which is waste wood. So not only do we have a robust economic model, we don't know anybody else that has as robust a model, but we know nobody else has a solution with sufficient feedstock to meet the demand. What's the demand? The US alone burns 230 billion gallons of liquid fuel a year. We're liquid fuel guys and girls, okay? The vegetable oil business is only 3 billion gallons. The government's mandated up to 16 billion gallons. Corn ethanol is mandated at 16 billion, and guess what? They filled it. They built 200 facilities in 7 or 8 years. Why are they only at 3 billion? They're bottlenecked on feedstock. They're building and doubling their capacity. They don't have the feedstock. Guess what? We have the feedstock. This is just the US, but it gets worse. SAF is exploding. Everybody and their mother wants sustainable aviation fuel. Those numbers are fractional and they're exploding. Please.
Are you talking about the gaming 100 low lead replacement or jet fuel? Jet A?
So no. So it's the aromatic fuels that blend into, right, the existing jet fuel. Does it blend with Jet A? Yeah, blends with Jet A. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is what's causing an explosion in our contracts. We signed 3 in Australia. We signed 1 in Vietnam, right? Every major airport hub from Dublin to Minneapolis is talking to us about using our technology because as they've done their diligence, they come up with only 2 or 3 techs that actually could work. Then they go further and realize those other 2 techs don't have the feedstock of any sufficiency to actually meet their demand. We're the last one standing, and we can do it all.
Do you have patents on that?
We have a monster portfolio of patents, dozens of patents with hundreds and hundreds of claims embedded into those patents. Then with Renfuel in Sweden, who had a missing piece to our portfolio, we have exclusive rights to their tech. And then with the National Renewable Energy and Department of Energy, who came to us and said, you guys are leading with your solution. Look at some breakthroughs that we have. We would like to partner with you with a grant request for the DOE. We said, screw the DOE. Probably shouldn't say that out loud if I'm being taped. We said, we love the DOE, but let's not do that. We're going to fund you immediately to the finish line.
Another question.
Please.
Recycle rubber.
We're not yet planning to recycle rubber. Let's have other recycling discussions off to the side for a minute. Let me finish this up. We got projects going all over the world. What are you going to hear in the next 4 to 5 weeks? Offtake agreements with the largest renewable fuel companies and the largest type of airline companies. What are you going to hear? Feedstock agreements, site selections, and you're going to hear we've got capital committed, right, to build our first facility, but the business plan leapfrogged us. We've had capital pooling all around the world, and they're licensing our technology and they're getting ahead of us. If we have any anxiety right now, it's our capacity to handle all the projects that are coming online. So this is incredibly exciting. We're going to announce our engineering, procurement, construction, our EPC firms. We're going to be announcing our feedstocks. We're going to be announcing sites. You're also going to hear announcements of governments granting us money, state governments, to make us come there first. So that's all happening as we speak. Let me tell you a simpler story, though. We take a ton of solar panel, and we burn off all the contaminants cleanly and safely, and we get clean aluminum, clean glass, and clean fines that are rich in silver. We have already contracted to sell those. When we built the model, I'm going to come back to this in a minute. When we built the model, we were looking at tipping fees about $500 a ton. We're averaging better than that to date. We're up and running, by the way. We didn't model any recovery rate because we didn't know if we could recover the materials cleanly. Fortunato said he could, but we had to spend a few $1 million. We had to get a facility up and running. We had to see if it really worked. Guess what? It worked. We're producing, number one, clean aluminum. We're producing, number two, clean glass. And we're producing fine and coarse residuals that are rich in silver. How rich? Ridiculously rich. So we've proven now that we can do that. That's a picture of our commercial demonstration scale facility. That's the facility in the back there with the little red circle around it. But the facility in the front is the one that we've leased for our industry scale facility. We've already submitted the permits for that facility. It's about 10 to 12 million in CapEx. And it produces 40 million in profit, producing 100,000 tons of recycled material. 40 million. But we didn't plan for any recovery. Now we're recovering. We're getting another $200 a ton. So it's 60 million profit a year on 10 to 12 million investment. And we want to put one in northern Nevada. That's where we are. That's where those pictures you just looked at are sitting. That's, by the way, 30 minutes from the Comstock mine. And we're looking at southern Nevada because guess where it's all coming from? California, Arizona. Monster ability. The key that's freaking us out is 100,000 tons of waste in the US becomes 1 million tons by 2030. Globally, the numbers are 8 times. By 2050, it's 8 million. And we're talking about all the solar panels that are already deployed, not the ones that are being deployed now. It's an incredible business. So, please, questions? Yeah. They are. That's what's happening right now. So they deliver it. Let me talk about the model. They deliver it to us, they pay for the freight. They pay us $500 a ton to take their environmental liability, for lack of a better term, because otherwise they have to send it to a landfill and they'll have to pay more. We process it, terminate the liability, so deferred revenue becomes revenue. Oh, they pay us cash up front. Did I mention that? They pay us cash up front, okay? We process it, then we ship the offtake materials, and then we get, normal billing, net 30 days on the glass, on the aluminum, on the silver. All that's been done now. So now we're scaling up to bigger size. Something weird happened though. Companies are coming to us saying, we want to send you our panels. We don't really know how to dismantle this stuff. Some of them are just sending trucks of it. Some of them are hiring contractors to dismantle. Some are sophisticated, utility farms that have engineering firms that manage that for them. But some don't. So we now have a third revenue stream, which we call decommissioning services. Now the margins are good. They're not as great as tipping fees, obviously. They're not as great as the shipments that are going out the door, but they're good. But they also get us the other business. So we have decommissioning services, we have tipping fees, and then we have product sales, all happening at the same time right now. Oh, sorry.
How do you distribute the SAF that you guys are making?
So far we have a pilot facility in Wisconsin, and this is a great question because it's, I think, the most powerful part of our business model. We have a facility in Wisconsin. We've only done, like we have a 2,000 gallon reactor, right? So we've done decent scale, not great scale. But basically, the oils that we produce and or the fuels that we could hydrocrack ourselves will go into the existing infrastructure. So our ideal scenario is we're producing these oils, we call it bioleum because it's the natural equivalent to petroleum in our minds. We would like to distribute them right to existing renewable fuel refiners, and they blend it right with one-to-one with their current vegetable oils. So the thing that we don't like about electrification, that is EVs, is the idea that they're going to replace the entire global energy infrastructure. We think that's ridiculous, right? There's a place for them. It's a meaningful place. We're leveraging the existing infrastructure.
How do you actually get the stuff to the buyer? Like, do you have a shipping system?
We will have pipelines but what my point is that we're going to select sites that are co-located with these areas or in close proximity to those areas and go feed right into the existing distribution system. Right in front first. Yep.
So the feedstock for your, I guess, wood, you recycle it into sustainable aviation fuel.
Yeah.
You have unlimited supply.
No, so beautiful question.
And are they paying you or do you pay them?
Beautiful question. So it's woody biomass and woody-like biomass. What does that mean? Hardwoods, softwoods, bamboo, eucalyptus. Now shift over to pulp and paper mills. They take the cellulose to make paper. Lignin that comes out, they either throw away or burn in their boilers. We can turn all of that into fuel. So you'll see us co-locating with pulp and paper mills. Sugar mills produce sugar and then bagasse, right? We take all that lignin-rich bagasse and we produce fuels. So we co-locate with them to do that. Now, depending on the scenario, if it's waste wood, like from a lumber mill or things like that, we've seen prices go from like $20 to $50 a ton. We model something closer to $100 a ton. We're also talking to companies that are genetically engineering and producing like hybrid poplars that grow in 3 or 4 years, or producing these xanograsses that'll grow in half a year or in a year that have high lignin, high cellulose content, high fuel yields, and those costs could be less than $40 a ton. So we've modeled a much higher number, right? But there's a tremendous opportunity. We're talking to a few states right now that have these invasive wood species that are like sucking the lifeblood out of the aquifers of the state, and there's hundreds of millions of tons that are available. So the government puts out what they call the billion-ton report, which is by the Department of Agriculture, showing like all of the waste agricultural materials that are available. it's abundant. And I'm just talking about waste. If we move then into short cycle and fast cycle grow, then you have an oil well that never ever stops giving.
You want more CO2 in the atmosphere.
So if you, the more you grow, the more you incent farmers to grow. Like I'll tell you right now, some of these solutions will increase the value per acre of existing farms, like the alfalfa farmers and these other folks, by 5, 10, sometimes 20 times per acre. And that's at a low $20 or $30 a ton price to us. So it's a huge win-win. You create a low carbon fuel business, you create a new agricultural business, but to your point, I think that you're making, when you're growing something, CO2 is being sucked out of the air. You cut it off at the base, the roots stay in the ground, you make fuel, it grows right back up. That's the ideal. Yes, please?
Yeah, my daughter did a PhD research several years ago now on converting wood into
Fuel, yeah.
aviation fuel. Okay, and she lives up in Washington State.
Beautiful.
So they've got a lot of waste from,
Forestry.
well, not forestry so much, but produce a lot of wine. So in the
Oh.
process of making wine and they grow hops.
Waste biomass, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of biomass.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have another question. There's a lot of forest fires that happen.
Yes.
Use the burned wood from the forest.
Yeah, so yes and no. So there's one weird thing with the renewable fuel standard is that the government super incents us to take waste wood, right? They love that. Everybody seems to love that. But they're still, it's not quite there when it's coming from federal lands, right? So if it's coming from private lands, it's a huge opportunity. When it's coming from federal lands, it's not such a huge opportunity. Makes us smash our head against the wall, quite frankly.
So can you recycle the burned wood?
Oh yeah, for sure we could. Anything that the carbon content we can take and recycle. Yeah, sorry, I didn't understand the question. We're dealing with a company in Washington. I hope it's not your daughter. I hope it is your daughter. She's brilliant, and it's going to be an incredible thing. But ask your daughter about her paper. Everything previously was cellulose, right? The other half is lignin, and most experts in the industry say lignin's a tough nut to crack. We've cracked that nut. We have patents on that nut. We have the highest yields in the industry. One second. Sure. Yeah. Yes. So the beautiful question. So most of the lands around us have been rezoned to be residential. So right across the street from the mine is a small community called Silver City. Right, so there's a huge opportunity for residential development. However, a lot of the properties are also industrially zoned, right? So we're really thinking about what would be a sustainable solution here. We might deploy some clean energy. We might deploy some solar activity. We might deploy some business and then surround it with residential. And then the federal lands will act as the free space in between it all, which would make it all incredibly valuable. Yeah, so that's what we have to make sure that all the reclamation, right, is clean. It's all clean. So we wouldn't be talking yet. The ore that we process will stay in the leach pad as we understand it now. The waste doesn't get treated with any chemicals, right? So it would be clean to be, used for reclamation. But that mass balance, right, the amount of waste available versus the size of the hole in the ground is what we need to make sure we can recontour. But I'll tell you where I got the idea, and it's silly. We sold a parcel to Microsoft about a year and a half ago that was down the road, not part of the mineral district, and we sold it to them because it wasn't flat. It was flat, and then it went up into the mountain. And they were complaining to me the whole time that they had to spend $40 or $50 million to level the land. So I go back to Mike and I say, hey Mike, we're going to be leveling this land, right? It could be very productive, like when we're done. There are logistical and sequential challenges, but if you plan them in advance, it's doable.
Filling in the hole, that would be how many years they had?
Well, We have a 5.5-year mine life, and we want it to be longer. However, what could end up happening is we have 5.5 years for this first mine, then we move to a second mine right next to it, and then we're backfilling, we're re-landscaping, you know, and so the sequence, but it could be 7 to 10 years before we're talking about post-development, but we're gonna be making a lot of money every year during that time. And then instead of ending up with a liability, ending up with a very valuable asset.
Are you already profitable?
No, so the reason our stock is at such a ridiculously low level is we have 3 businesses. Well, if you were talking to me 5 months ago, I'd say we have 3 businesses that are pre-revenue. Now, metals is making some revenue and it's growing very fast. That's the recycling business. Mining, we're not mining yet. And then fuels, we're signing the contracts for that revenue now. So you're starting to see people say, oh, this is actually happening, this is actually real, but those cash flows are not flowing yet. Good question.
So how many panels a month are you doing?
So the facility that we built, that smaller one in the back, it does 6 tons per day on 3 shifts. That's only about 5,000 tons a year. However, and I'll convert that to panels in a second for you. 3 shifts would be full scale. We're just going to the 3rd shift now. The big facility will do 10 to 20 tons, 15 to 20 tons an hour, and it will do 3.5 million panels, 3.5 million panels a year. And our differentiator right now, we see 2 other mom and pop recyclers, you know, out there. What they do is manual. We see them trying to take the plastics off the glass. We try to separate the frames. We industrial scale crush. We industrial scale eliminate. And our tech there, our know-how and our tech is what we call delamination. Getting rid of the laminates, the plastics, and the glues is the nasty part of the process. We get rid of all of that cleanly, so we have no contamination, no pollution, and then essentially 93% of the ton is glass, aluminum, silver fines. So we recover all of it.
What was the 4th one?
So glass, aluminum, and then we have 2 types of fines, coarse and really fine, that are rich with silver. I think of that as one product, but the business thinks of it as 2.
Okay. And the silicon, does that have any value?
It does. Right now, we're selling all of it. It's going into a refining process for the extraction of silver, right? We're actually looking at, our mining team, our metallurgical team, is looking at, could we take these materials and just process it to the finish line with silver? And the answer is absolutely, but there's regulatory complexities because the recycling regulations under RCRA and the mining regulations are very different. And so we're trying to reconcile that with the regulators, but we're happy right now just to sell everything profitably while we figure out if we can capture more of that value downstream.
It's just hard for me to imagine there's 3 million tons per hour.
No. So 3.5 million panels per year would be 100,000 tons of material per year. Now, if we have 3 facilities, like I showed you on that map, doing 100,000 tons each, we're going to be pushing at least 1.8 to 2 million ounces of silver a year, which would put us in the top 3 for Nevada silver producers.
Truly that many panels being retired?
Oh my God, there is tens and tens and tens of millions of panels. One project in southern Nevada, the solar farm has 25 million panels. One project, one utility.
So these panels are only, they're supposed to last 30 years, but they're not.
They're not lasting 12, 15, 17 years.
The silicon that comes out of the panels, aren't those isn't that a special kind of glass? Don't they put like I don't know, some other rare earths in
There are materials in there, which is why most of the recycling is going back into the solar industry for reuse of those materials. And it varies, to your point. That's why people see this as like a blue-collar waste management industry. It's not. It's a very chemistry sensitive industry. So our president is a PhD chemist, but he's built plants all over the world over a 30-year career processing hazardous and volatile materials.
How many competitors that you have, and is there a possibility that solar companies will start recycling their own?
Yeah, we don't see the solar companies recycling their own. We see there's really two competitors in the United States that we're paying attention to. One's in Arizona, one's in Texas. It's interesting because we feel like we're the only ones that has a business model that has a zero landfill solution. So some of them are disassembling manually and they care about the glass. And that one is in cahoots with a solar panel manufacturer. They want to provide them glass for recycling. The other one is more an environmental firm that seems to be much more focused on decommissioning services. They met us at a conference and said, hey, you guys are the only ones that we see that can scale, right? So maybe we can partner and do that. We're partnering with a lot of decommissioners. We're partnering with a lot of coordinators, but nobody has the industrial scale technology to cleanly have a zero landfill solution.
So somebody here at this conference in one of the previous lectures, I think at one of the general assemblies, said that, I'm not sure I've got this right, but each panel, solar panel, has about 2/3 of an ounce of silver per panel.
Yeah.
Is that really true?
Yeah. It depends on the panel, right?
Yeah.
And I've heard the number in grams versus ounces as well, so yes. When it aggregates into that fine, it's double-digit grades, ounces per ton. It's fantastic, right? It's just fantastic.
A lot of silver for one panel.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the technology that's advancing, they're using more for the conductive needs.
Yeah,
Sorry.
What is your timeline and the
So,
dollars
so,
needed for
yep.
getting
So the first facility.
I'm going for getting the silver mine going.
Oh, silver mine, yeah. So as soon as we green light it, we have a 2-year into production, okay? And what we want to do is one full round of drilling in that southern part to infill. So we'll infill, we'll core, we'll make sure that we have a final engineered mine plan. We'll step out. If the step out is cool, meaning not so hot, we're going to start mining that. If it's hot, then we're going to assess, do we continue to expand the resource before we put it in.
So you haven't drilled any of the...
We've drilled the heck out of Dayton within that 40-acre.
Right.
It's a 2.5-mile trend, right? So we've got it nailed. We could literally give it a green light today, finalize the engineering, finalize the updated permitting, and just go into production. Okay, we can do that.
And why not do that?
Well, we still.
Scrap the rest.
Well, I think that's what'll happen, but I think that's what'll happen. We still need to drill that southern part and just a little infill so we can finalize that mine plan. We're going to learn something when we do that. But it's a high likelihood that would be the decision. We just go to produce.
The thing is because you're going to reclamate.
In part because of that, but even more so is we just don't want to sub-optimize the mine. We want to make sure we're getting all the gold and silver that we knowingly can get, right? But it's a small point. Tona Gold. Tona Gold.
Yeah, what did they accomplish in all this?
So they were at the north end, right? They did some drilling. They paid us $30 million. They ran out of money. They left. We took the $30 million. We moved on. So we're very cautious about the district, right? We want to make sure that the district stays intact and is treated properly. We were really their biggest cheerleader. We were hoping that they in the north, but the north to us is the most prospective and the longest term. Does it have big upside? Yeah, but it's treacherously deep up there, right? A lot of deep holes, a lot of former mine workings. In the middle, we have a resource, and in the south, we have a fantastic resource. And that one we're going to start mining.
Corrado, shall we do the drawing?
Oh, we have to do the drawing. I will continue to talk to people. So I'll continue to talk to people. I just want you guys to know how anal we are.
Do we have any?
The front of this has a pictorial. We need a couple more. Hold on. The front of this has a pictorial of the Comstock lode. The back of it has our first restoration project that we completed successfully. But I want you guys to know that we found a refiner. We forced them to clean and flush all their cells. We never lost physical custody over the material. We made sure only Comstock silver was processed through those cells and we weren't contaminated with other silver. And they certified it, and I certified it, that this is Comstock silver 4.9 purity. And these were selling for $150 during the state's 150-year sesquicentennial. So I know it's only an ounce of silver, but it's not silver from the unwashed masses. This is Comstock silver.
Corrado, you get to draw the name.
I'll draw the name.
Yes. Ready?
Yep.
Close your eyes.
And then I'll continue to take questions after they kick us out. Hold on. Okay.
We have a winner.
Ed Bracken. Oh, sorry. No one's, Ed, nobody's happy for you.
Hey, you did an incredible
That was great.
job.
That was great.
Your
Thank you.
story's impressive.
It's really, it should be the most intriguing story of the conference. 5 years of blood, sweat, and tears to get a mine ready to go, to get urban mining is what people are calling the recycling, and then the fuel business.
I have a question. Do you have any obstacles with permitting?
No, so we were fully permitted when we were mining the Lucerne, and we fully changed the zoning, the master plans, and everything back to mining so that we have the support to go back in.
So the Bioleum, you're gonna just license that technology?
So we're going to build the first facility in the U.S. That announcement's coming soon. But we're open to licensing it because when the ethanol industry was put into motion, they built 200 facilities in 7 years. We could easily handle that kind of capacity. We can't handle it ourselves. Yeah. So all of our partners are gearing up. The first 4 deals that we signed, they have their own capital, and it's licensing agreement. We get 6% engineering fees up front. We get 6% royalty fees once they're up and running. 6%? And we get of revenue, and we get 20% of the equity of each project.